Okay, so what we got here is the Xbox pass-through setup. What I've done is we've got a program that will take an Xbox input from up to 4 controllers and pass it through the laptop out through the serial port to an Arduino. This one's an Uno R3, and control whatever you want to control off of there. What it does is it just passes through some serial commands, and we've got a chart, a lookup, so that you can just set up your Xbox controllers, plug this stuff in, and just get to work setting up your Arduino sketches and have them programmed to do whatever you want to do using the codes that we're passing through. The command that's coming through on those starts with a 2, and then it's the button number, and then how much it's pushed. Okay, on the software, and you can see right there. Now I'm going to move the joystick around a little bit. You can see controller 2. Now what I've got is trigger. The right trigger for this joystick is set up on motor 4. Now you can see that it's not activated by any of the other triggers. It's just scoped in the Arduino control board so that it's expecting an input from that trigger, and only motor 4 will work. On this controller, controller 1, I've got it set up so that the left joystick works motor 2. You can see I'm moving it to the right and it spins one way, move it back to the left and it spins the other way. I've also got it set up so that the Arduino is actually sending back a feedback command for the force feedback when that's activated. See, I've got the right one is set up with the low frequency, and the left side is set up with the high frequency one. You can hear it vibrating against the table. So what we've got is just a visual display showing what is happening over here on the joystick. It just kind of triggers all the inputs on there and what commands are being sent. I don't have the rest of these commands mapped to anything on the Arduino right now, but it's sending through a control for each one of the inputs, each one of the button inputs. It also has the ability to type in just a command into right here and have it activate. Right there I just typed in 1, 2, 200. That's keypad 1, button 2, set it for 200. And what it does is it just set the motor rotating at 200. That's motor 2 because that's what's hooked up to this button. And the Arduino is actually sending back the 200, or sending back the feedback to the joystick. Now I just deactivated it by basically centering the joystick. But that was like a cruise control command. I'll hit it again. And then I just center it to turn it off. There's another window on here, and basically this is kind of like using the serial window. It'll give you the feedback of what's going out and what's coming back in this window right here. So all the signals are being recorded, and you can scroll back through them and see what's on there. Now if you hover over any of the buttons, it'll tell you what code it is that's got hooked up to it. Here's code 7. It shows a range of 0 to 255. Hovering over the Y button, and it's showing code 22, a 0 or a 1. The right shoulder button, or what some people call the bumpers, is code 18. Sorry if you can't see that very well on the video, but so when you're doing your coding, you can kind of just hover on here and say, okay, well, what button am I looking for? This is the left trigger. It's a code 9, and the range is 0 to 255. Okay. There's also kind of free form. This is just a send code. Okay, in string format. This is not limited by the length of the codes that we have set up for all the buttons. You can just enter any length right here, type it in, and it'll send it across the serial out to your Arduino. It'll show right here, command sent, and then just kind of the garbage that was there. So that's also just going across the serial and going straight to there. So you can use this for the pre-programmed codes that are set in here. Just start it up and get your Arduino going. Now if you had like an XB hooked up to here, a wireless, then you could use your joystick and control whatever you want, up to 4 different controllers wired in, and it just automatically just sends them through. Of course, another thing you might want to do is use a wireless remote. What we've got here is the wireless USB hub that can hook into here, and if you hook up your wireless controller, then it works the same way. And you can kind of hear that it's working with the feedback as well. It works just the same way. That's controller 1, and it works exactly the same way. So you hook this thing up, you set your laptop over on the side, you've got everything plugged in here, and you've got your remote control. You're working your remotely controlled ROV, your RC car, airplane, whatever it is. And if coming out of your Arduino is a set of wireless commands, then you're completely separate. You've got your wireless keypad, as long as you're within range here, and you're sending out your wireless signals to do whatever you need to do. The commands, there are 24 buttons on the Xbox controller. The way we've got it mapped out is the sticks have an X and a Y component to them. There's an up and a down, and a left and a right. So you've got, instead of having negative numbers, you use just positive numbers for all 4 buttons. And that works for all the sticks, and this way we get a 0 through 255 code that comes through for anything that has a throttle. That is the triggers in both sticks. You also have the just the buttons, a 1 or a 0 for any one of the other buttons. The X, Y, the A, B, the D-pad sends a different code for whichever position it is. The pushing on the stick is an activation. That is a different code. On here you can see D-pad is 11, 12, 13, and 14, depending on which way you push it. And each one of those codes can be mapped to a different controller, or you can share controls by button. There's also a set of codes for sending back feedback to the joysticks. It's scoped to the gamepad and the range, from 0 for turning it off, or all the way up to 9, which is a full blast. Okay, so that's it. That's the Xbox pass-through.